and then we'll get going. There we are. So you're live on the internet. So I'm Bill Griffiths. So for those who don't know me, the day job is head of programs and collections at Panamera Archives and Museums. But I've got a long association with Hadrians Wall one way or t'other, longer than even I realised when we were discussing the Newsburn earlier in the week. I sit on the Hadrian's Wall Management Plan Board, but my function today is as chair of the Hadrian's Wall 1900th Anniversary Festival Coordinating Group. So just a reminder to everyone to just stay muted throughout the session, throughout the presentation, folks, so we don't get background noise in the recording. Then we will, bring you in for questions. So pop any questions as they come along in the chat area. I'll try and pick them up. And we'll bring them into the discussion once we finish the presentation. So what are we going to do this afternoon? Well, this session is in two parts. The first, we're going to take you through the nuts and bolts of the festival. I'll give you a little background to that in a minute again. Once we're done with that and had a questions and answer about how the festival might work, all that technical kind of stuff, and we'll have a short break. And then the second half, we'll just start off briefly. I'll explain who we are in a minute, by the way. We'll start off briefly thinking about some ideas and inspiration, and we'll hear from one of my other colleagues, Maddie on the steering group, about the project she's currently running on the wall. But the main point of the second session is to hear from you all about things you may wish to do as part of the festival. So this really is a chance for us all to just kind of roll our mental sleeves up, if you can say that, and start to really just pitch in with ideas and just see, as we share with other people, what we can come up with to really celebrate, well, a unique anniversary. 1,900 years doesn't come along every day. It's too long to wait to the 2001, so we're definitely doing this one now. So what are we doing? Well, for those who are on Saturday, we don't know yet is the answer. We have our two coordinating producers, Maddie and Ellie, who I'll introduce more fully in a minute or two. We have our logo, as you can see there, drawn from the Hadrian's Wall country logo. And that is, of course, the line of Hadrian's Wall across the country that you're seeing there. I don't want to get into discussions about what the colour north of the wall means. We're not going to do that one anymore. But it really is to really draw attention to the fact this festival exists, that it is something contemporary. This is a festival where we celebrate 1,900 years of our World Heritage Site. And as I've said before, any ideas can count. It can be something as simple as, if you want to bake a cake in the shape of a Roman shield, I'll turn up to eat it. You put it on your village fete. Or we could be doing some multi-million-pound art extravaganza and anything in between. It is for us, it is for all of us to celebrate our World Heritage along the wall. Obviously, it comes at what we hope will be the end of COVID. So hopefully, we'll be starting to really open up again. But really, we'll be where we are with that. What doesn't change is the fact that next year is 1,900 years since the wall started to be built, and that is one heck of an anniversary to celebrate. So let's move on, and next slide, please. I think yes. So here's the when I say we, the we is all of us gathered in this room who are interested in the festival. But your steering group, as you can see, there we are on screen. So there's a number of us from different organisations. What I will say about the steering group is this is not about organisations being represented. What we put together here is a group of people who are literally rolling their sleeves up to help make this happen. When I say help make this happen, first job, of course, is to try and find money. We haven't got any money at the moment. Well, we've got a very little bit of money, thanks to some hard work by people already, which has allowed us to employ our coordinating producers, Maddie and Ellie, who I'll come to in a minute. The main thing, though, is we're looking frantically around for money at present. But any of the ideas you have, at the moment, there is no money. It will be up to you to raise money to make your work happen. The festival happens even if we don't raise another cent. We have the logo, so it's got to happen. It's as simple as that with this festival. All the partners along the wall will be putting things on anyway, but obviously the bigger and the brighter and the better we can all make it together, the more exciting it will be. And really to celebrate and engage people that live along the wall, because as I said before, it's our wall. You've got a sense of who's on the steering group. I think we're all approachable. you know. I don't think any of us bite. I've not seen anything like that going on so far. So but I mean, our main contacts are Ellie and Maddie, who are our coordinating producers, and they will be pulling the festival together. And this is where I finally be glad to hear shut up, because I'm really chairing today, and the presentation will be given by Maddie and Ellie, who I think are going to introduce themselves now.
Yes, thank you, Bill. You'll have to accept my apologies. A delivery just came and I had to run down the stairs and then run straight back up. So yes, my name's Maddie Maughan. I'm one half of the coordinating producers, working with Ellie on delivery of the festival, which we're really excited about. So we just thought it would be useful to give a bit of background about ourselves. So I'm a independent creative producer. I work in large scale outdoor arts events mainly, and I'm really passionate about projects that have participation at their heart and community at their heart, really. So I've been involved, sorry, I'm really out of breath running up and down the stairs. Some of the key projects that I've been involved in are this picture here is of Land of Green Ginger, which was the flagship community engagement project as part of Hull City of Culture. So lots of citywide festivals and events that I've been part of, and then things that are a bit more intimate and durational. I delivered a project called Enchanted Parks in Saltwell Park in Gateshead, which was a series of installations through a gated Victorian park, all underneath a kind of overarching narrative each year. This past year, obviously with COVID, I haven't actually I have delivered one event on site. We took a mini festival to a street in East Cleveland, which was about giving that street an opportunity to celebrate. And it was just at the right time where we were kind of loose on COVID restrictions. There was lots of social distancing messages, and that was fantastic. And then alongside that, we did an online festival. So that's a bit about the sort of stuff that I do. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what people are going to do for Hadrian's 1900. And it's a fantastic celebration to be part of. And I'll pass on to Ellie to tell you a bit more about her.
Thanks, Maddie. Hello, everyone. So I'm Ellie Turner. I'm also an independent outdoor arts and events producer, and I've been working in that kind of world for about 20 years. I'm working on all kinds of different projects of different scales and in different environments. Some of the work to date that I've done has included European Capital of Culture opening ceremonies, and my picture is actually from the first UK City of Culture in Derry, Londonderry, which was the kind of jewel in the crown event for that. And again, Maddie and I have very similar, or a lot of crossover in terms of the work that we've done. Also very passionate about community engaged work and that puts people at its heart, and projects that are informed by landscape and culture and heritage. Something a bit closer to home for some of you, I was creative producer for some of the New Year's Eve winter carnivals in the centre of Newcastle. And yes, through this COVID time, certainly been very busy, even if I've not been on site, and delivering lots of things online and starting to work on things that hopefully are going to happen in the future. Things feel positive that they're starting to happen. And as Bill says, this festival feels like it's positioned in a very good place to kind of start celebrating our new found freedom, hopefully. So I wanted to also just say a little bit about, so we are called the coordinating producers. What does that mean? What do we do? And so just to sort of run through a little bit about that, Maddie and I started in mid-December, and we are working with the Hadrian's Wall 1900 steering group, which obviously you've just seen a list of who's involved in that. And I suppose what we do is we take the ideas and try to turn them into a reality. So we're kind of like the driving force that now sets things in motion and makes them happen. And they go from being ideas to actually being a reality. So for example, things that have happened already is that we've created a call out for an activity submission form, which we will be encouraging you to complete with ideas or just expressions of interest about being involved. We're developing engagement plans. contact events like this one. We are involved in the fundraising for the whole festival, and so that's around, you know, shaping what the ambition is, and tailoring that as we go along to match the funding that we find. Obviously sort of overarching marketing and PR plans, and a really big thing that we're doing and going to be doing is working with the activity organisers. So that would be hopefully some of you, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit, about how we might be offering some support. So there might not be any money, but we are here to be able to try and help you. So one of the first things that we did when we started work, we were introduced to the idea that Hadrian's Wall and Hadrian's Wall 1900 Festival means many different things to many different people. So one of the very first things that we did as a piece of work with the steering group was that we pulled together a vision for the festival that incorporates, hopefully, all of those things in a succinct way, and that document also then helps us secure funds and write the marketing copy and all those kinds of things. So Maddie is going to talk you through that next.
So yes, I'm going to use one of Ellie's phrases, which is death by PowerPoint, but I am going to go through the vision. It's not just this slide, it's this slide and the next slide. As Ellie said, we wanted to kind of bring together a cohesive description of what the ambition of the festival was, the festival vision. And this is what we're using as a kind of starting point for our fundraising activity, for our marketing activity, press, which we're going to come on to later as well. It's already starting to do that. So yes, so I'm going to read it because that's the best thing to do. So our vision is that we're celebrating 1900 years of history of the World Heritage Site. We want to connect people and places through time, bringing to life the culture and experiences of local people, and living and working along the wall from pre-Roman times to the present day. Activity will be presented by local societies, interest groups, community organisations, arts organisations, local creatives, local authorities, visitor attractions, venues and individuals, and that it will be a multifaceted festival including history, heritage, archaeology, arts and culture, community, literature, education, science, environment and leisure, and lots more, I'm sure, along the full length of the wall. It will appeal to local people interacting with both rural and urban locations, and communities celebrating the World Heritage Site, their connection to it and their local and national heritage. It'll engage national and international visitors with a series of high-profile commissions, which I'll talk about in a minute, and events which will increase the profile of the World Heritage Site. And that programming will include everything from exhibitions, lectures, workshops, walks, film screenings, arts and creative projects, events and installations, and community celebrations, concluding at the Festival of Saturnalia in December. So that it's a lot. I mean, we wanted it to be as inclusive and open as possible to encourage people to get involved in delivering their own activity, which is why this vision, it feels quite broad, but we wanted to be able to show the kind of levels of what we're expecting to be included, who we want to be involved, as well as the idea that hopefully there will be a couple of keystone high profile moments through the year. And that's what we're fundraising for at the minute, along with the core cost of coordinating the festival, and we thought it'd be useful to talk a bit about those. So one of those might be an intervention in the landscape, so something that's there for a series of months, hopefully, that encourages, it's large scale, we don't know what that looks like yet, but is another reason to attract people to visit, another reason for press attention, another reason for national visitors, international perhaps, who knows, next year, we'll see. And our second keystone event that we are hoping to fundraise for is the Festival of Saturnalia, which would be more of a kind of community celebration along the length of the wall. We're talking about, could that be something that travels to villages and towns through the wall, or community centres, and gives everyone through the week of Saturnalia, which is the 17th to the 23rd of December, giving lots of communities something to celebrate to bring the festival to a close. And then we're hoping also that other partners along the wall, or venues, visitor attractions, might also deliver high profile, large scale events that would bring that profile in the same respect. So now we're going to move on to our criteria for inclusion, which Ellie's going to go through.
Thanks, Maddie. So again, a little bit death by PowerPoint, but criteria for inclusion, of course, is really important. We have to be able to look at what comes in. We have to have a system for what can be included and what can't be. We also need to obviously hit areas of interest, both for the partnership and for funders, etc. You know, and so there is a criteria for inclusion, which of course is the dates, so it taking place within Hadrian's birthday on the 24th of January and the Festival of Saturnalia in December. And a decision has been made to, which I think has some flexibility in it, but is pretty much that activity needs to take place within a 10-mile radius of key World Heritage Site locations. Obviously, there may well be in a landscape that now has developed a lot of digital content that extends that. Obviously, there is also a desire to work with partners across the UK and Europe and beyond, as feels right. So there is some flexibility in that, but that is a kind of it gives a rough idea for most people. And to have appropriate reference to the anniversary. And so that's about, you know, it needs to relate to something, it's pretty broad, that's happened or that is relevant within the last 1900 years of history of the wall, which should give people plenty of opportunity to find different things to respond to. Suitable for family audiences on the is very important for us. We might consider other things, but again, that would have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And to consider promoting diversity and inclusion to engage new audiences and visitors. This is something that's really important for everybody. It's important for the partnership. It's important for all of the partners within that partnership. It's important for funders. It's about reaching new audiences and trying to engage new people in the wall, in heritage and culture, in arts potentially. That's a big desire. We ask people to consider accessibility, so that might be about disabled access and people being able to come and look at something that might be about access via online. There's lots of different ways of looking at access, and we will be helping people understand that. And consider sustainable event delivery. Obviously, we're living in a world where environmental impact is incredibly important, and I'm sure is becoming, you know, at the heart of a lot of what people do. And so, you know, it's only right and proper that we would consider that to be an important criteria for the festival. So next, I think we're going to look at support. So as Bill says, we currently don't have any money to offer anybody to run events, but what we do have is Maddie and I, and we're in post certainly until September, but then hopefully there might be funds for that to continue, and we're designing support for activity providers in order to help them realise their ideas. Do you want to talk about the toolkits, Maddie?
Yeah, so we're looking for through a series of toolkits to provide to activity organisers, which would be just guidelines and things that people have access to if they've potentially not ever delivered an event before, or they want to deliver something that is of a higher scale than what they're used to, and then we will provide an event management guideline. Or maybe they want to take something indoors that they've always done outdoors, or vice versa. So that will include all sorts of things, including what you need to consider in terms of licensing if you need to, considerations probably around accessibility we would include in there, event management planning, who you need to speak to at councils if you need to, permissions, all of that boring stuff that needs to happen to make events possible and safe. We'll also be, obviously, as we've said many times now, there is no money. We have no money for the festival at the minute. We're talking to fundraisers currently, and we're speaking to local trusts and foundations as well, both about what support there is for the core costs associated to coordinating the festival, as well as what can we offer or what can we suggest to activity organisers in terms of where they might look for funding for their own activities. So that, I think that's probably going to be one of the first toolkits that is out there, so keep your eyes peeled. We'll come on to how you make sure that you get the right information at what time. Marketing and PR, so along with oh no, I'm going to come on to marketing as well in this slide. That'll be about how you market an event. So perhaps you've delivered things for venues, or you've delivered things for organisations, but you've never done the marketing. Or again, you want to reach new audiences, or you want to reach larger audiences. So that'll just be kind of basics about that kind of thing. Maybe a few contacts of key media in the Hadrian's Wall locality, which obviously is long. Evaluation is a key thing for us, really, as the festival, in terms of how we evaluate the impact of the festival as a whole, how you can help us to evaluate that by inputting into that, and then also some suggestions about how you might evaluate your own activity on an individual basis. And then, as Ellie said, sustainable event delivery is really important. We found recently some really useful guidelines from Julie's Bicycle, which we're just going to use because they're existing, and they're kind of checklists about things that you might consider thinking about. So if you needed to bring in temporary power, might you look at switching the generator off every so often through your event, or might you look at using a different kind of fuel that's more sustainable? What else? Encouraging audiences not to use plastic, or bring their reusable water bottles, get a standpipe put in so that people can refill from those, rather than having loads of plastic waste, and lots more that I could go on and on about, but we've got more to talk about. So Ellie, do you want to talk about contact events?
Yeah, so this is our first contact event, and was only right and proper that we spoke with you first. But we are planning a series of contact events. And I think what's important, one of the things that's important to us, is that when we talk to people, we talk to them in a way that incorporates the whole length of the wall. So what we're talking about is holding a series of contact events where we might talk to, as listed here, venues and visitor attractions, and that would be an invitation to people from the whole length of the wall, to local authorities, again, that would be the whole length of the wall, arts and arts organisations, so that we all the way through the planning and all the way through any contacting and networking that we are able to help happen, people are thinking about the whole length of the wall and their connection to it. So there'll be a kind of initial contact sessions a bit like this, where it's introducing the idea, and then we will be listening to feedback. We'll be looking at people's submission forms, which we'll come onto shortly, the feedback that we get, the conversation that we have, in order to plan the following contact events. And so we've talked about, in theory, contact events that might enable people to broker relationships. For example, that if community groups want to collaborate with other community groups, or to work with other organisations, they think that it might be interesting to connect in one way, shape or form, then maybe that's something that we would be able to run contact events that would enable that to be able to happen. And so those contact events will sort of develop over the coming months and hopefully be responsive to what people actually need and want.
And then marketing, talked about briefly. Hopefully you've received an email this morning from I think Nick sent it out in the end, is that right? Or Kerry or Marianne, one of the three. Marianne. I've seen lots of emails going out about the launch today. So we're going to do more detail at the very end, but basically we're launching our Get Involved message today. Our website landing pages go live, so within those is a bit of kind of copy about what the festival is, and then really it's about us encouraging people at this stage to propose activity and get involved in the festival. So in terms of support for that, though, support for you, we will be delivering, as Bill says, no matter what happens, there will be a marketing campaign that has to happen. The 1900 logo exists, so at the most basic level, your activity will be listed somewhere centrally that is 1900 branded. Alongside that, we'll be doing the guideline, the marketing PR toolkits, along with guidelines about how to use the brand and that kind of thing. And then we're hoping to maybe do some kind of templates of a bit of bunting, as you can see here, or some posters and things that people can use themselves. That campaign for a year-long festival is a really fantastic opportunity for people to be underneath that umbrella, because no matter what's happening, if there's high profile activity happening through the year, that is immediately pushing people to everyone's activity. So if someone's visiting for a week and they want to see something in the festival, then it's there for them to look at and find out more about. So I think that's all I need to say on that marketing support at the minute. So next we've got timeline. Ellie, do you want to do this?
Yeah, I could talk through this. I mean, we are at the early stages, so the timeline only has a few things on it at the moment. We thought we'd pull out a few key things for you. So March, obviously, here we are. The launch is today, so that's very exciting. The Get Involved launch, and we're looking forward to hearing from people very soon about their ideas. And then in April, so we're going to come on to talking about how you propose your ideas on the next slide. But in April, we're going to start looking at the sort of expressions of interest that have come through the activity submission form and start looking at what that looks like as a sort of cohesive programme. We already have over 60 expressions of interest, and that's only having shared the information within the partnership. And so today, we anticipate that from this point forward, this will be an ongoing process. There is also a very significant date in April, which is the 18th of April, which is World Heritage Day. And so there will be some kind of significant publicity event happening at that point in time. Details to be confirmed. We're hoping that by May, the first of the toolkits will be able to become available. And so, as we've said, fundraising might be one of the first ones with that. We do anticipate that there'll be live documents. And so although we might launch them, they may be updated. One of the things, especially relating to fundraising at the moment, is that actually the fundraising landscape is in a period of change, because of some people are still concentrating on only supporting COVID relief. Some are starting to move on. That's evolving. And so one of those things is that we will point people in the direction that they exist, but also encourage people to keep checking them, because we will update information as we have them. So in August, we're thinking that Copy and Images will start to ask for copy and images about people's events, so that we can start to list things on the website. And in September, hopefully that might be when listings start to appear on the website, and we can start directing potential audience to looking at what's going on and getting them excited. Programme launch in October, and obviously the festival starting in January. And yeah, we'll update you more as we know more.
So obviously this is completely dependent on fundraising and completely dependent on COVID. So all of these dates might completely shift, but who knows, we'll see. This is what we're aiming for, and we'll remain positive. So we're about to come to the end, but after giving you all of that information, we need to tell you, how do you get involved? How do you tell us what you would like to do? So as Ellie said, we put out a call for proposed activity before Christmas through the partnership, and that kind of went a little bit further than that. We've had about 60 expressions of interest, and from today at 4 o'clock we are launching, this is our message, to encourage as many people as far and wide across the World Heritage Site and beyond to propose activity to be part of the festival. So the way that you do that is at 4 o'clock on Hadrian's World Country website, there will be a new tab on the top of the website that says 1900, and from that drop down there'll be a Get Involved, and the Get Involved page has our criteria for inclusion, a bit more information about the kind of fundraising and what we can offer in terms of support, and then a link to an online form where you can tell us that you either have a brilliant idea and you know exactly what you want to do and what you need to do for it and what you need to find resource wise to be able to do it, or you can go, I've got no idea, I just know that I want to do something, or I just want to get involved. So it's simply logging your details and then doing it. Not applicable for all of the other questions is absolutely fine as well, and that means that we've got your details logged in the same system, and it means that as we update things, as toolkits become available, as more information becomes available, we can start to send that out to you directly. So I think that's everything. And
I think so. So so now any questions on that, and just a reminder, after questions we'll have a short comfort break, and then after the comfort break we'll talk about ideas in.
Oh, I think Ellie's internet's cut out again, which had done earlier today.
Perfect timing though.
Well done, Ellie. It's BT's fault.